Interior design is a passion of mine, and I cannot wait to inspire you through some of the amazing things we will create and learn on our journeys to becoming interior designers. Hello, everyone, and a huge welcome to Shore Academy. Our mission here is to change lives by providing great education, which is accessible and affordable to everyone all over the world, giving you the flexibility to learn your own way. We are a globally recognized course and align with standards of education in countries all over the world. We provide real engagement, which equates to success and in turn allows you to achieve your goals. Let me give you a quick breakdown of what you can expect during your time here at Shore Academy. Our courses consist of 4 modules. Each module has 8 lessons. We start off with Module 1, your basic module, progressing to your intermediate module, Module 2, then jumping to your advanced module, Module 3, and finishing off with your proficient module in Module 4. Once you've completed all of these modules, you will then obtain your professional diploma in interior design. An amazing achievement, even if I do say so myself. And that brings us to the voice behind your screen. Hello everyone, and welcome to your first lesson in interior design. My name is Robin Santini, and I'm going to be your course educator throughout this course. I'm so happy that you've chosen to enroll in this course with me, and I'm sure you're going to have so much fun on your interior design journey. I'm a practicing interior design professional with over 9 years of local and international interior design experience. I look forward to sharing my experience with you as we progress through this course. Here is some more background so that you know that you're in good hands. I have a diploma in interior architectural design, as well as have first-hand experience in running an interior design business called Create Interior Designs. I have in-house corporate, retail, hospitality, and domestic design experience, which I'm going to share with you as we move along our course. Over the years, I've worked with and worked on some amazing brands locally as well as internationally. Some of them are the TFG Group, the South African Leather Company, Visa Credit Card Head Office in South Africa, Vida E Cafe, Sports Scene, Relay Jeans, and so many more. Now that you know a little bit about me, I'm going to share a really amazing quote with you that's going to lead us very nicely into this lesson. The essence of interior design will always be about people and how they live. It's about realities and what makes for an attractive, civilized, meaningful environment, not about fashion or what is in or what is out. This is not an easy job. This quote is by Albert Hadley, and we're going to put this quote to the test in this lesson and really understand why the way we live has such an impact on design and how we as designers create our interiors. So let's get going. Lesson 1 is all about the sketchbook of interior design, and we're going to start off with the obvious question. What do you think interior design is? Most people have an idea or part of an idea of what we do, but can you guys tell me? Have a look around you and see if you can use your current environment to explain what interior design is. Have a little think about it, and we'll come back to this answer. As with every lesson, we are going to look at some core lesson objectives for each lesson. And for today's lesson, our lesson objectives are to understand the meaning of interior design. What is interior design? We are then going to look at understanding the design personalities within the design industry. We're going to look at developing our knowledge on the history of design. We'll look at understanding how designers communicate. How do we communicate what our ideas are? We're going to look at developing our sketching ability. And this is a really exciting objective and one that I've kept for the last part of our lesson. So stay tuned. For today's lesson, you are going to need to get hold of the following. You will need a sketchbook, some nice pens or pencils, some sort of crayons, and a large surface area where you can draw and feel creative within the space. Something I want to share, practice makes perfect. Remember this. In any industry, practice makes perfect. So at the end of each of your lessons, you will see that we've allocated a challenge for you to complete in your own time. Each challenge will have some sort of a hashtag that you can use to post to Instagram or Facebook, which allows me, your educator, and your fellow students to check out the work that you're doing. All these challenges can be created in your sketchbook or on the program that we've allocated to the lesson. They can then be photographed and then posted up to your social media accounts. I suggest setting up an account that relates to your interior design journey, like a mini portfolio type of account, and this will allow you to showcase your work. These challenges are not graded. They are for you to use as a building block towards creating your final portfolio. But I do suggest you do them because, as I said, practice makes perfect, and it'll really solidify the knowledge as we progress through your course. Another suggestion could be to keep a little portfolio on your desktop, call it portfolio, and anything you create or do during this course, or even things you may do on your own for fun, you can pop them into this folder as a collection, and you can pull from them when we do start creating our final portfolio in Module 4. Since we believe in making our courses as accessible and interactive as possible, we understand and know that you've got lots of questions during your lessons. So I'd like you to meet Morpheus. Morpheus is Shaw Academy's very own artificial intelligence bot. Morpheus is here to assist you in answering your questions, and if you'd like, you can even ask your classmates. I encourage you to interact with your classmates as it's a really good way to learn from each other. With all of my years in interior design experience, I've come to understand that the best way to learn is to interact. So don't be scared to ask questions, as that is what we are here to do, to learn. Please remember to rate your interactions with Morpheus, as this is only going to help us improve our answers. And since Morpheus is an AI bot, he will learn from your ratings and he will become more and more intelligent. You will be able to access your summary notes and webinar slides from your course page under your toolkits. These will come in really handy when you get your assignments at the end of each module. So just to break it down, at the end of each module, module 1, 2, 3, and 4, you will have your final assignments. And at the end of every 2 weeks of lessons, you will have your lesson assignments. So essentially in this module, you will have 4 lesson assignments. And then at the end of this module, module 1, you will have 1 final module assignment. For whatever reason, Morpheus or your classmates cannot assist you with an answer, please don't hesitate to send us an email at support@shawacademy.com, and I will be sure to get back to you as soon as I possibly can, or someone on our technical side will do the same. Now that admin is all out of the way and covered, let's get straight into our lesson, as we are going to start with a Did You Know? Did you know that you do not need to be a Da Vinci or a Michelangelo to be an interior designer? All interior designers are not from artistic backgrounds. I know, that's quite revolutionary, right? Shocking. I'm not even from an artistic background. You do not need to be an artist to be an interior designer. Being a creative and being an artist are two very different things. Stay tuned in our lesson as we will explore this theory in a little bit more detail. Interior design is such a beautiful industry to be a part of, but not everyone really understands what it is we do as interior designers. What do you think we do as an interior designer? I think it's so important to start here. Most people have an idea or part of an idea of what we do, but can anyone tell me? Have a look around you and see if you can use your current environment to explain what we do as interior designers. Have a little think and keep your answer as we progress through this lesson. An interior designer is someone who works with a client to create aesthetically pleasing and functional rooms and spaces. Your client and projects that you may find yourselves working on could range from small home environments, which we call domestic projects, right through to hotel lobbies in the hospitality design industry, to office spaces in your commercial design industry. An interior designer creates indoor spaces that are safe, functional, and aesthetically pleasing. Not one of these phrases stand alone. As a designer, you may be required to change furniture placement, wall locations, electrical points, or decide on color palettes and overall style in a variety of different spaces. On your screen are 3 images of interiors. Can you tell me which one of these 3 best describe what we do as interior designers? So your option A is a plan view of a house, option B is an image of a wedding venue, and option C is an image of an interior of a hospital. Which of these images relate to interior designers and what we do? And the correct answer is in fact all of the above. There is no right or wrong answer here. The fact of the matter is that irrespective of what space you're inhabiting around you, there is always some form of interior design or architecture. It has become such a part of our daily lives we don't always notice. Interior designers do so much more than just applying color to a wall or fabric to cushions. Interior design is about giving purpose and function to a space and improving the built environment, and therefore improving people's lives. We may not be doctors or lawyers, but we certainly perform a vital function in people's daily lives. Interior design can be one of the most exciting and ever-changing professions or career paths to choose. Now we know that interior design improves living conditions, functionality, and the quality of space. I have a question for you. Would you go to a movie that you didn't like? Or eat something that didn't just taste quite right? You can pop your answers into your Morpheus chat box or just have a think about that. So I can tell you that I definitely wouldn't eat something I didn't like or go and see a movie that I just didn't particularly want to watch. Well, when it comes to interior design and architecture, a badly designed space is less easy to avoid, and therefore the focus on good designed and well-planned spaces is so imperative. This is why we have architects and interior designers who devote their careers to planning out spaces to ensure that they are perfectly suited to the functions and habits that need to take place in these spaces. An inadequate design and poorly planned space will have a direct impact on the functions and lives of people inhabiting that space for years to come. This is growing increasingly important with the movement of work from home and more indoor activities taking place. Interior design aids in improving space quality by combining the following factors. Firstly, combining your design principles, which are your shapes, your colors, and your form, with ergonomics, such as heights and standard sizes, with your environmental factors, such as your wind, your sun, and your sea. Each of the above factors should be your core thought and starting points to any design project. Did you know that there's such a thing as a poorly designed space or a well-designed space? I'm sure most of you have thought this through before, but probably not as often as your practicing interior designers would. There is a definite difference and a definite consciousness around well-designed spaces versus a poorly designed space. Therefore, not everyone is an interior designer. Have a look at this interior and tell me if you think this is a well-designed or a poorly designed space. The answer you're looking for is that it's a well-designed space for the simple fact that it was planned around a function. A well-designed space is not only aesthetic value, as mentioned above, but also has a lot to do with how the principles, elements, and functions have been planned out and thought through. We are surrounded by well-designed spaces in our everyday lives and have become much less aware of the great design than of a poor designed space. This is because the need for a well-designed space and to be able to carry out normal functions in these spaces is much more imperative. Have a look at this image on your screen and tell me if you think it's a well-designed space or a poorly designed space. You can pop your answers into your Morpheus text box. I'm sure most of you have had the answer to this almost immediately. This is because, again, we are used to well-designed spaces. So a bad designed space or a poorly designed space sticks out like a sore thumb. Let's take a look at why we think this is a poorly designed space. Firstly, the proportion is totally incorrect. The size of the furniture item in relation to the space is just not right and obviously plays a role on the eye. Secondly, the layout does not allow the space to function optimally. So the desk is facing the wall, and this is really not the best position or layout for this desk. We as designers have a huge responsibility to ensure that we never leave the customer feeling uncomfortable in our designs. This is obviously something that we want to avoid at all costs, and therefore a well-designed space is imperative. Let's take another look at an example of a well-designed space. On your screen is an image of a hospital lobby. So we know that as an interior designer, our main function is to assist in improving the function of a space. In this image below, can you list the ways in which the designer has improved the functions within the space? How have they designed the space in order to uplift or improve and maintain function? What do you think they've thought about adding? How do you think they've planned the space? I can see at least 3 areas in which function has aided and been improved within the space. Can you see them? You can pop your answers into your Morpheus text box. In the meantime, let me list the reasons why I feel the space has been improved by the designer, and you can see if these answers correlate with yours. Firstly, we can see improvement in flow. There's a clear route of traffic flow and sufficient space to be performed in these spaces. There's an allocated space for each function to take place in its own location. So you look at, there's a seating area for guests to sit, there's a reception area for queries, and then there's traffic space for aisles. So patients or doctors can wheel in and out of the aisles without bumping other customers or clients. Then we see improvement in the mood. There's quite a calm mood in the space, which is quite typical for a hospital waiting room or lobby area. This has been created in the choice of color, fabrics, and textures that have been used within the space. You can see that this has been planned and thought out. Then we look at the comfort within the space. The space is clearly quite comfortable. This plays on the idea of scale and proportion. Are the items proportioned well in the space? Yes, they are. Are the furniture selections correct for the space in terms of the size? Yes. The space doesn't look too busy, it doesn't look too small, it's just right. Then we see space improvement in function. When designing a space, we need to consider the intention for that space or the function. Good design takes into consideration the function that needs to be performed in each space. Now it's your turn. Have a look in your own home or office today and see if you can list any of the areas or items that you feel have been well designed or poorly designed. Some of the elements that you could look at are the position of the house. Has the position been thought through? Is there natural light being used? What color has been used in the space to aid the mood? The general layout of the space. Can you walk around freely and with ease? You can think about the lighting and how the lighting aids the function in that space. The levels of the countertop, are they set at perfect heights not to strain the body? And fabrics that have been used, do they change the sound within the space? All these elements have been thought through and added to the space to increase functionality and the experience that one has within these environments. This is in order to create a well-designed space. So as you can see, there's a lot of thought and time that needs to be spent planning these spaces so that we live happily and perform our functions with ease within our environments. These well-designed spaces are the masterpieces of great interior designers. Did you know that designers do not all have the same design personality? There are so many areas within the design industry that designers are able to choose which skill personalities in this industry appeal to us most. There is a big misconception about interior designers that they are all probably artists. For a designer, drawing is not as a creative process as it is for an artist. Drawing for an interior designer is a way of thinking and communicating. It's the way in which they develop and deconstruct concepts and ideas. Creativity comes in so many different forms within this industry. It's quite a nice way of looking at it with the design personalities which make up each interior designer. There are many aspects and career paths within the interior design field which make it such a fun and exciting environment to be a part of. Every day brings about a different design personality, which makes it an exciting and ever-changing industry. So then, let's look at some of the design personalities I'm referring to. Firstly, we have the creative, we have the planner, we have a technical buff, and the communicator. Let's look at them in a little bit more detail. The creative, enough said. This is the stuff of artists, mood boards, presentations, and developing concepts. This is the land of fantasy, color, and color coordination, as well as fabrics. With this personality, the sky's the limit. So generally, your creative really enjoys playing with mood boards, colors, and concepts, as opposed to the more technical side of design. A really nice characteristic to have, and a really nice passion to follow within this industry. We then have the planner, and definitely a personality that I tend to follow. Creativity in the puzzle planning and spaces to ensure optimum functionality. They love working with the client's requirements and the needs to create the best traffic flow and ensure that the space has been thought through to the T. The creativity here is found in the way you plan your space. So the planner essentially is like putting a puzzle together. This personality type loves fixing problems and finding the solution to the design. We then have the technical buff. Creativity here is in the detail. Drawing after drawing and sitting with technical drawings for hours, making sure that they have the technical detail as much as possible so that the contractors can accurately build the masterpiece that we're wanting to create. The thrill here is in the detail. The creativity is found in the way you detail up your drawings. So the technical buff generally would really enjoy technical drawings and technical details and figuring out how each item will fit together to finish off your perfect project. We then have the communicator. The creativity here is in the words. Coffee dates with clients, on-site meetings with contractors, and coordinating what each part of the project needs to happen when. Daily meetings with clients, presenting the project and helping them visualize the artwork that you have in mind. Creativity here is found in the way that they make the client feel or see the way your project needs to be completed. Creativity in the words. I've been lucky enough to experience a little bit of each characteristics in all of my projects and situations to date. This industry is so great in the sense that you're able to choose which personality type for instance, your creative or your technical buff, that you prefer and drive your career in that direction. Personally, my excitement lies in the space planning and the planning side of things, because naturally I'm a problem solver. Through this course, we'll cover all of the aspects involved in interior design and the career paths that you may find yourselves in. In Module 4, we'll revisit all of the design personalities and decide which design personality best suits you. Now we know the personality types, we need to look at the foundation of interior design. And what a great place to start looking is the history book of interior design. As we know with any design industry, there's always loads of rich history and inspiring specialists that we need to learn about to understand the progression and the development of that history. And this is no different when it comes to interior design. I personally love history and promise to do my best in making this as interesting and as fascinating as possible. Our starting point is Did you know? Did you know that the interior design profession is a fairly new industry? It's just over about 100 years old, but it's only recently been recognized as a profession of its own, a standalone profession, if you will. So, if this is such a new profession, how did it come about that we now call ourselves interior designers? As with any profession, it has developed. There was a need for interiors to be designed. So we say there was essentially a need in the market. What started out as the art of decorating, embracing form and function, evolved into today's world of the highly specialized study of interior design, which requires years of study and years of experience. Now you will start to see why everyone confuses designers and decorators. It's not their fault, it's all in the history. We start in the 1900s. The first time the term interior decorator was used was in America. The so-called decorators had no form of study or academic record behind them, but they seemed to have a gift for style, logic, and natural talent to solving their clients' problems or design needs. The first solid movement towards this career becoming something of recognition was thanks to Elsie de Wolf, the mother of interior design. Elsie became the first interior decorator to publish the first interior design book in 1914, and the name of this book was The House of Good Taste. She was considered the first American professional interior designer. Also, just a side note, this industry is not only a female industry, it's very much a male and female industry as well. There's some very well-known male interior designers and definitely ones to keep an eye out for. Elsie de Wolf had a strong belief in creating an overall design statement that was harmonious. She believed that the statement needed to reflect the woman's personality as opposed to the husband's earning power, because during this time, obviously, that was something that was very prevalent. De Wolf introduced a startling freshness to the elaborate, heavily fringed and tasseled Victorian design sensibility of her time. Before de Wolf began helping her friends with home decorating around the 1900s, American homes had never been designed. Upper-class women called in curtain makers, furniture salesmen, wallpaper hangers, and other craftsmen, and then attempted to arrange these elements themselves. Hence the term we so commonly jump to, an interior decorator. The term interior designer was coined in the 1930s by a magazine called Interior Design and Decoration. At this time, design schools also started recognizing the work not only of designers, but also of architects and engineers. The first and largest professional organization in the field was founded in America, and the name of this organization was the AID, the American Institute of Decorators. They later changed their name to the American Institute for Interior Designers in 1936. The history of interior design continues to rapidly evolve. Interior design specialities are now widely accepted as a part of the norm in the built environment, and that is why we now have the profession of interior design to date. Having had a look at a short history of design, we now need to look at how designers have communicated up until now. What tactics have interior designers used to communicate their work? That brings us to our next topic, how designers communicate. How do you think we communicate our ideas and our schemes? Have a think and pop your answers into your Morpheus text box. How do you communicate? To understand communication, we need to look at the methods that designers use to communicate. To understand the methods of communication, we need to look at the tools and the techniques that we use. We will use both our tools and our techniques to communicate, but let's break them up in a little bit more detail. We'll start with our tools. The tools that we use as designers to communicate our projects and our work are our drawings by hand, rough drawings, neat drawings, any type of drawing work that we can use to communicate. We also use computer-aided software programs such as AutoCAD, SketchUp, Revit, 3D Studio Max, and so many more. And then we communicate through our presentations. These are the tools that we use to communicate to our clients. So then what are our techniques? Can any of you list some of the techniques you think that we use in your Morpheus text box? What techniques do we use as designers to communicate? I'm sure most of you know the first one, but let me run through some of them with you. One of our techniques is our plan. We use an elevation. We use a section. We use 2D drawings and 3D drawings. And lastly, our sketching. These are all used as techniques when we communicate our ideas. Each of these techniques above will form a part of your interior design projects or project packs at some stage of your project life cycle. We start off with the plan view. The plan is a view from the above looking down on into a space. A plan indicates the function, circulation, traffic flow, and routes of the tasks performed within a space. Plans are probably one of the most important starting points to any project. Without a plan, you can't actually create or carry out a project. Can you see how much information we're able to take away from this plan view without having even seen the space or lived in the space? We can clearly see that there's a couple of bedrooms. We can see the sizes of the space. We can see exactly how you enter or exit the space. All of the information is there. A plan is generally a 2D drawing looking down on into a space. It's a drawing that records from the point of view of someone looking from above. In these plan views, we're able to see where the walls are located. We're able to get a sense of how furniture is positioned and how a person can maneuver themselves within these spaces. It's very clear. Our next communication techniques are our elevations and our section drawings. An elevation and section are both drawings of the side view of an object. An elevation and section are both communicated in 2D drawing format, which communicates the 2D vertical aspects of a design. So vertical up and down, horizontal side to side. Here is an example of your elevation, which clearly shows the vertical aspects of this home. So we can see the windows and the doors, anything from the ground upwards. An elevation is a drawing that shows the sides of a building or an object. It gives us insight into the height of the object and the vertical elements that we're trying to portray. So in this case, the vertical elements would be your windows and your doors, the finishes of the house, anything from the ground upwards. So we also get a great idea of the roof and anything above the roof. Then we have an example of our section. A section shows us a very similar type of information to the elevation, but with one main difference. The section has been cut away or sliced in half along an imaginary plane. So your plan drawings are in fact also a type of section, but they cut through the building on a horizontal level. So they take the roof off as opposed to a vertical level like your section, in the sense that you'd be cutting the roof away to see inside the building. A section is a great tool as it shows us different internal levels through the space, whereas your elevation may only show you kind of external levels. Elevations and sections are covered a little bit in more detail over the next couple of weeks, as we'll be drawing up our very own elevations of our spaces and maybe even looking into how to draw up your sections. Last but not least, we are going to look at our 2D and 3D drawings. You have probably heard of these terms before, but if not, let's take a look at what they are. A 2D drawing is a two-dimensional drawing, a flat single-surfaced drawing or visual. It shows no depth, so you can't see the height of anything in a 2D drawing. Whereas your 3D drawing is all about depth. 3D drawings give us the best indication of what your client or audience can expect from a variety of different aspects, such as your depth, the movement, the space. It gives you a really great idea of how one can function within the space. So as you can see with the example on your screen, this is a 3D drawing showing us a really nice indication of heights, width, depths. It gives us the best overall visual of the space, whereas your 2D drawing will give you a very flat visual and not any depth. These drawing types that we've just looked at are used to convey the project detail and the space requirements. They are created for the benefit of both the designer and the client. The client uses these drawings to understand the designer's intention, and the designer uses these drawings not only to communicate to the client, but the other teams or professionals that need to carry out the jobs on the project as well. Here's a quick sneak peek into your lesson 5, where we'll be looking at how to communicate with perspective and 3D views. We look at working through perspective drawings by hand, and then we show you what a perspective drawing with SketchUp can look like. SketchUp we tackle in Module 4 as we start learning how to tackle and sketch 3D models. But this is a model that I've created for a client recently, in 3D, obviously, and this was a really nice way to show them what the final space was going to look like. This slide is called the skills progression slide that will be showing you along your course so you can see your progression throughout each module during the course. As you can see, we're going to be covering the following: critical thinking, elements and principles of design, presentational design, professional practice, and computer-aided software. These are the skills that we're going to assess our progression through. So far for today's lesson, we're making some progress on our critical thinking aspect and really establishing the fundamentals. As we get through the rest of this module, we're really going to solidify our knowledge on the elements and principles of design and touch on professional practice as well as presentational design. So something to really look forward to as we start progressing and developing our skills, and something you can use to keep track of. So that being said, let's get back into our lesson. Now we have successfully understood the methods of design, the plan, the section, and the elevation, as well as your 3D drawings. We now need to look at how. How do you propose we showcase and carry out these communication methods? We can either make use of computer-aided software like your SketchUp, your AutoCAD, your 3D Max, your Revit, etc., or we can sketch by hand. Yes, you heard me. I said sketch by hand. Don't be scared of this word. Sketching is here to become your new best friend. And again, you really don't need to be good at sketching. We've now learned that sketching will become the way we speak and communicate as designers, and therefore something that we need to get used to and start practicing. So take it in your stride. Start practicing sketching. Now we know that sketching is vital. Let's look at why and how sketching takes place. The process of sketching for a designer has two main functions. Firstly, to aid in the design process and communicate with an audience. Sketching allows a designer to understand the situation, which allows a designer to look at the space or project in a very different light or way. When we look at something that does not require too much attention, the brain is left to fill in the pieces and complete the images, which is not what we're trying to do. When sketching, we're trying to complete the picture and make sure that the brain doesn't have to do too much extra work. Let's take a look at a little example. Let's say we were going to sketch this coffee cup for a client. Let's look at some of the considerations we need to look at when sketching this cup. Firstly, you'd need to look at the light. Where does the light sit? Then we'd look at the shadow. How is the shadow thrown? Then we'd look at the shape. What is the shape of the cup? Is it round? Is it oval? Is it rectangular? What is the texture of the cup? So in this case, it would be smooth and shiny. What is the position of the cup? So where does it sit? At the moment, this coffee cup is sitting central to the plate. And then we'd look at the proportion of the cup. What is the proportion of the cup in relation to the saucer? Is it big? Is it small? What is the proportion of the cup in relation to its surroundings? These you would apply to any element that you were drawing. When we're sketching, we're forced to dissect the object or the space, which allows us to understand the detail and the 3D quality of the image. We start to develop a trained eye and develop a critical mind, which is something that is really important to design. We want to really start training how we critically think about items and objects and interiors, etc. And this is what's going to develop that. Sketching is a tool used to extract numerous ideas out as quickly and as rapidly as possible. Sketching can be used as a tool as rough communication at any stage of the project. So let's say you are on site with a project team and you've done all of your technical drawings and emailed that to the team, but there was a small detail that needed to be discussed on site. The client wants to know where the new table in the boardroom is going to sit. You can take your sketch pad and a pencil and draw a diagram of where that is going to be located, which is the easiest and quickest method possible at the time. Taking your clients on the design journey with you is a success and the first battle completed. Sketching ideas are the first steps in any design process and something every designer really needs to start learning. Sketching is not just limited to designers, it occurs in many careers that require something that needs to be built. The beauty of sketching is that you are not required to be an artist to produce these items. Sketching is not only to help you explore and explain, but something that helps us develop design concept. The idea is to keep your sketches fast, rough, and quick. This helps us to worry less about the design aesthetic and focus more on the rapid formulation of ideas. Let's take a look at some of the sketching benefits. So firstly, it's a time saver and time save on the workflow process. So when we're on site, something needs to get done, we can quickly sketch something up. We don't need to go back to our computers and draw them in on our computers. It's a great tool for brainstorming ideas and collaborating with team members. It refines the wireframing process. It helps evaluate the feasibility of the features and elements and layouts and functionality issues within your spaces and projects. And a really great benefit is that anyone can sketch the ideas, so it's not limiting any team members. Sketching is about saving memories in a sketchbook with enough detail so that years later you're able to flip through that sketchbook and know exactly what you were trying to save or what memory you were trying to portray or remember or convey without having actually been in the space. Your sketchbook is of great importance to the interior designer. And that brings us to your challenge, as I mentioned in the beginning of the lesson. We are going to sketch an object as a form of our communication. So what I'm trying to get you to do here is sketch something in your space, something that you can see in front of you. Sketch it in such a way that I'm able to know exactly what image you're trying to portray or what you're trying to communicate. Find any object in front of you, a cup of tea, an apple, a chair, whatever you feel comfortable with. Ask yourself a couple of questions. What is the purpose of this object? When sketching, it's important to ask what my main aim is. What is the aim of the object? The reason we sketch is to record data to familiarize ourselves with how the object, the space, the light behaves with each other in an environment. Some of the elements you can focus on when creating your sketches are: why is the object interesting? So what do you find interesting about this object? Is it an odd shape? Has it got an interesting texture? What is interesting about this object? Then you need to look at how the object is put together. So how is it joined? Does it have corners? Does it have joints? Does it have nuts? Does it have bolts? How is the object put together? You also want to look at what you want to communicate about this object. So what is interesting? Is it an interesting texture? Has it got an interesting mood to it? What are you trying to communicate about this object? Is it maybe the position of the object? You want to look at the general shape of the object. Is it round? Is it square? Is it rectangular? Is it oval? That also needs to be communicated through your drawings. You'd also want to focus on the scale of the object in relation to its surroundings or in relation to other objects that are attached to it. A really interesting aspect is to look at the light and the shadow and how the light affects the object and where the shadow falls, what shadow is created by the object. And once you've created your sketches, ideally in your sketchbooks, you can photograph them on your cell phone or with a camera, upload them to your social media account. So ideally you've created your own little portfolio social media account, something to do with interior design, post them there, and you can tag us at Shaw Academy. You can use the hashtag ID challenge M1L1 because we're in module 1 of lesson 1, and then you can tag me at Shaw_interior_design, as this is my social media account that I've created specifically for this course. Tag me there and then I will see if I can get to any of your designs or your work. So I'm not going to be able to get to everyone's stuff, but it'll give me a really good idea of where you all are, at what point in the design process you are. And if you are really struggling with something, absolutely tag me and I'll see if I can get to your queries or your concerns. Before I leave you, I want to just give you a little tip. Embrace your perfections. It makes the drawings so much more unique. As you can see, I'm not an artist myself, but I have communicated clearly what I was wanting to show you in a very short space of time, with all the environmental elements, all the shapes and the sizes, and every consideration that I did need to take into consideration while creating my sketches. I've mastered the first step of my project. Now it's your turn to give it a go. A little sketching tip before I leave you. Most of us don't always have a pen and paper handy when we're out and about, and we may want to record something that we've seen that inspires us or a great idea that we want to use for an upcoming project. Have any of you had this experience? Well, I have it on a daily basis. Ideally, you want to carry a little sketchbook with you, but it's not always practical. So I found a sneaky trick called Sketchpad by Adobe or Sketchbook. It's an Autodesk product that you can download to your computer or your cell phone, and it's totally free. Yes, it's totally for free. It's a perfect tool for these little situations where you get bursts of inspiration and you're not sure how to use them. So go ahead, download Sketchbook, and you can use it to create your very own sketches here, the one that I need you to create for your module. Remember, all the summary notes and your slides are available in your toolkits and would be really worthwhile to keep as a resource at your fingertips as you get beyond this course. But no sneak peeks, the lesson notes will only become available to you after you've attended all of your classes and caught up with all of your lessons. These are going to help you prepare for your final assignments. Remember, you can always change your class date and time so that it's convenient for you, and should you feel the need, you can restart your class, or you can rewatch a lesson to reference back at any time. And that brings us to the end of our lesson. We have officially done our very first lesson of our Module 1 in interior design. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember to start drawing up some of your very own freehand sketches, take pics, upload them to social media accounts, and interact with your classmates. I really hope that you've enjoyed this lesson, and I can guarantee you that these lessons are only going to become even more fun, especially as you start drawing up your very own floor plans by hand. I will see you soon for lesson 2. Happy learning, everyone, and good luck with your challenge.